Breathe it in, everyone. Breathe it in. Football is back! Football is back, thank God! The NFL season is officially underway. We've had both the Thursday night game, the Friday night game, both of which were actually pretty good. You know, the Cowboys did a lot better than I think a lot of us were expecting. The Chargers upset the Chiefs. Fantastic performance from Justin Herbert. And now, counting down the hours at this point for the Lions season to kick off in Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers. I can't wait. And now, seeing as the Lions-Packers game is, at the time of uploading this video, basically 24 hours away, a little more than 24 hours away, I felt like it was a good idea to just sit down and do a quick little preview, beginner's guide, similar to the videos I was making at, well, last playoffs for one whole game that the Lions played in the playoffs, stupid frickin' Commanders. But I felt it was time. We're going to return to the Beginner's Guide series, just give you everything that you need to know for Lions Packers this Sunday, week 1, to kick off the season. Just before we get into the video though, if I could get you to hit that like button, subscribe with notifications turned on. I'm going to be streaming during Lions Packers tomorrow, so if you feel so inclined, if you get a little tired of the traditional broadcast, you can come say hi. If the Packers dominate, you can come watch me be miserable, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing. If the Lions dominate or play well, you can come see a Lions fan get excited for some of the big plays that hopefully transpire tomorrow. Regardless though, I would love to see you tomorrow, and I love that you're here already. So if you could do those 3 things, it'll take 5 seconds. It'll really help the channel grow. So the way we're going to get into this is we are just going to break down every single position group, every single battle. And I know that that may sound like a bit much, but we're going to kind of do rapid fire style because there's a lot to get into. And we're going to start with perhaps the biggest battle that you are going to watch the entire game, and that is the Lions tackles going up against the Packers edge rushers, including Micah Parsons, presumably. At the time of recording this, he's questionable to play. There's the whole back thing. However, I think he will play, maybe on a snap count, but I think Parsons is going to play. And regardless, the fact that the Packers have Micah Parsons is not something that I'm super fond of, but it's going to be something that we're going to have to deal with. So I'm working under the assumption that Parsons is going to be operating in a limited capacity. He still is new to Green Bay, maybe isn't fully up on the playbook, still just getting his feet under him. He hasn't practiced basically all of training camp, so he's not going to be completely in game shape. He, like, obviously he's a professional athlete, he's most of the way there, but he just might not be operating at 100%. So I'm expecting that he might be on a snap count, maybe play 20 to 30 snaps in this game, not quite a full allotment that he would usually play. So that'll definitely work in the Lions' favor. Aside from Parsons, you have Rashawn Gary, who I think very highly of, but he hasn't quite been as productive the last couple of years after he had an injury a few years ago. So maybe now that Parsons is here taking up more of the double teams, Gary can return to being the premier pass rusher he's capable of being. And Lucas Van Ness is also someone who was going to maybe have to take a step to be a solid number 2. Now he's the number 3, where he gets to just continue to be a very solid depth contributor, which I think is an ideal situation for him as well. Now, as for the Lions side of things, Penei Sewell, first team All-Pro, perennially a top 2 or 3 tackle in the league. I always, the big 3 in the league right now are Sewell, Wirfs, and Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson is the best pass protector. Sewell is the best run blocker. Wirfs is the best blend of both. But Penei Sewell is also no slouch as a pass protector either. He's just not quite as good at it as he is as a run blocker, where he is a Hall of Fame run blocker. And honestly, he possibly could be a Hall of Fame level talent. So I'm not worried about him, right? Like, he might allow a pressure every now and again against Parsons because he's Micah frickin' Parsons. He's a Hall of Fame talent in his own right. I'm a little more concerned about Taylor Decker. Now, Taylor Decker is a very stable starting left tackle in the league and has been for a long time, but he's not elite. I always try to differentiate someone who's very good versus someone who's elite. Decker is very good. He will do a very good job against most edge rushers in the league, but when it comes to elite edge rushers, that's where he starts to falter a little bit, and he also has a particular weakness against guys who have a little bit more speed off the edge. Micah Parsons is an elite edge rusher, and he is wicked quick. So whenever Parsons is lined up over Taylor Decker, the Lions are going to have to put extra emphasis on chipping and double teaming and giving extra attention on that side of the ball. The Lions are uniquely equipped to handle the Packers' edge situation and just handle a team with elite edge rushers in general, but this is going to be one of the best on best situations in the entire league that we're going to get to watch twice a year for the next couple of years until Taylor Decker retires. Now, to me, the more interesting battle is on the interior of both lines because the Packers just traded away Kenny Clark, who was maybe not quite what he used to be, but he's still a very good run defender and someone who has given the Lions problems for years. I always said that Frank Ragnow versus Kenny Clark was some of the best interior offensive line versus interior defensive line matchups you could get in football, and we got that twice a year for a number of years. And now the Packers don't have the same oomph in the middle of their defense, but at the same time, Frank Ragnow also retired, so the Lions had to rebuild the interior of their offensive line as well. So whereas the tackle versus edge situation is very much just elite on elite, the interior is unproven versus unproven. Whereas the Lions have rookie Tate Ratledge making his first start. They've got Christian Mahogany, who started like 2 or 3 games last year. He's the new left guard. And Graham Glasgow, coming off a down year at left guard, is sliding over to be the new center. So a lot of unknowns with the Lions on the interior. Will a guy like Devonte Wyatt be able to step up for the Packers? I don't know. But this is an area where if the Lions are able to have success, it will tilt the game massively in their favor. We know the Lions want to run the ball, and the Packers have a weakness in the middle of their defense. So if their young offensive line and their young guards specifically can have a good day, it will go a long way towards helping the Lions win. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are the best running back duo in the league. And David Montgomery, now that he's fully healthy, it'll be good to see him back. I would not be shocked if we got like 13 to 15 David Montgomery carries, especially in the first half. Just a lot more David Montgomery to wear the Packers front down. And then Jahmyr Gibbs can come in and be Sonic. He can be his usual electric self when the Packers are maybe not quite as sharp in the second half. And hopefully that could be how the Lions take advantage. And that's how they have for years at this point. So we'll see. But that is going to be the matchup to watch, offense versus defense. As for the Lions' weapons against the Packers secondary, the Packers corners don't scare me in the way that they used to, mainly because Jaire Alexander is gone. Now, Jaire Alexander was hurt all the time when he was in Green Bay, so that was very helpful. But I don't get as scared of the Packers corners anymore. Nate Hobbs is also questionable for this game, so Amon-Ra St. Brown should definitely be able to get open. And Jameson Williams, we'll see how he's evolved in year 4 now, but I do have confidence there. Where I have more concerns is with the Packers' safety. Xavier McKinney is one of the best in the entire league. He's one of the best ball hawks in the league. He's just got a nose for the football, very similar to Kirby Joseph, except McKinney is a little bit better as a run defender compared to Kirby Joseph, who is just a pure zone ball hawk, whereas McKinney has a little bit more versatility to his game. It's almost like a blend of Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch to an extent, but obviously the Lions have 2 elite safeties, so that helps as well. But I'm very scared of Xavier McKinney, and I don't want Goff throwing anywhere near him all day. And then Evan Williams is also a young guy that I think fairly highly of, and I think will be a good player for the Packers as well. With how much the Packers play zone coverage and just like to drop and only rush 4, I do think it might be a quiet day for Jameson Williams, especially when it comes to the deep shots. I don't expect that the Lions are going to be able to air it out deep down the field the way that offensive coordinator John Morton would like to do. I think there's going to be a lot more, kind of control the clock, control the ball, short intermediate concepts. I think Amon-Ra is going to be more important. I think Laporta is going to be more important. And I don't think this is necessarily the right matchup for Jameson Williams to come in and dominate. Now, obviously, Jameson Williams is really freaking fast, and at any point he can take the top off the defense. If the Packers lose focus for even a single second, it will be a touchdown, right? You always have to account for Jameson Williams' speed. I just don't think that this will be that kind of game where his speed will fully be weaponized, if that makes sense. I think the Packers are going to be a little too cautious to use it. Speaking of offensive coordinator John Morton, it is going to be fascinating to see the differences between him and Ben Johnson, because obviously Ben Johnson has been one of, if not the best offensive coordinator over the last number of years. How does John Morton adjust to this team? Because he's more of a pass-heavy guy coming over from Denver, and his previous experiences in the league. He helped build this Lions offense a few years ago, but now we're going to see kind of how the Lions offense looks post Ben Johnson, what they kind of liked, if they keep some of the same principles, where the changes are. It's just going to be fascinating. And the marriage between John Morton and Jared Goff will be very interesting as well. This is kind of our first proof of concept. So very curious to see what his tendencies are like. Flipping over to the other side of the ball, the Lions defensive line versus the Packers O-line. Now, the Packers have always had a fairly good offensive line. Elton Jenkins is one of the best in the business. Zach Tom is one of the best in the business as well. And the rest of the Packers O-line, I think, is fairly solid. Is it like top of the line, like elite? No, but they're also not bad at all. Like, they're probably in that fringe top 10, top 15 range, and they do their jobs fairly effectively. And for the Lions, obviously here, all eyes are going to be on Aiden Hutchinson as he returns for the first time since breaking his leg against the Cowboys last year. How good does he look? By all reports in camp, he is fully at 100%. His expected to compete for Defensive Player of the Year, which is obviously a very tall task, but that's the level he played up to at the start of last season. So now that is where the expectation is set. And the Lions kind of need it. Honestly, my biggest note here is we know Aiden Hutchinson, he's going to get chipped, he's going to get doubled, he's going to get all kinds of attention from the Packers offensive line. Where I'm very curious to see, what I'm curious to see rather, is who else is going to get pressure here? Obviously, Aleem McNeil, not in this game. He's still recovering from the torn ACL, so that is an interior threat that the Lions don't have access to. Levi Onwuzurike is out for the year with a torn ACL. That's another pass rushing threat the Lions don't have access to. So is Mekhi Wingo going to offer some pass rush juice? Is Marcus Davenport going to be healthy enough to offer some pass rush juice? Is Tyleik Williams in his first career game, he's more of a run stopper, but can he show anything as a pass rusher? I don't know, but that is going to be what I'm looking for. Is anyone else aside from Hutchinson going to be able to rush the passer? Or if they're not, how is Kelvin Shepherd going to incorporate blitzes as he is coaching his first game as the defensive coordinator? So all eyes will be on him as well and his play calling, his tendencies. I think underrated here, Derek Barnes could be very valuable as a pass rusher. Now Barnes, he's playing the Sam role. He was playing that role for the first time last year, and he only got 2.5 games before he had a season-ending knee injury. So him being back, I think, is super underrated. I think Barnes is the most underrated player on this Lions team, and he has some pass rush juice. When he was drafted out of Purdue, he was more of a pass rusher in college that the Lions turned into an off-ball linebacker, and now he's kind of playing a hybrid role. So can Derek Barnes help with the pass rush? I don't know. Can he be more of a blitzer? I don't know, but it's going to be very fascinating to see how the Lions try to dial up pressure. If the Lions aren't able to dial up pressure, it's going to free up the Packers to take more deep shots, which we know Jordan Love likes to do, and he's got a fancy new toy to throw down the field to with rookie wide receiver Matthew Golden. Now, I talked about earlier the fact that the Lions have a speed freak in Jameson Williams, but the Packers play more of a passive defense. Like they're very safe on defense, so JMO might not be able to use that speed effectively. The Lions are super aggressive on defense, and for as talented as their secondary is, I love DJ Reed. I like Terrion Arnold. Obviously, the Lions have the best young safety duo in the league in Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. However, for all the talent that the secondary has, they're not the fastest, and they are a little susceptible to deep shots every now and again. We've seen in the past Christian Watson have big plays against this team. Romeo Doubs has made big plays. Jaden Reed has been able to make big plays. So Matthew Golden, being as fast as he is, will he be able to take the top off the defense if the Packers protection holds up front? That is something I'm watching. In his first career game, will Golden be a factor? I do think that the Lions secondary should do good on the short to intermediate stuff, but again, super aggressive defense, and when that aggressiveness, you can only cover for so long, and again, not the fastest, so that is another area I'm watching. And I would be remiss if I did not talk about Jordan Love himself. Now, he's been dealing with the thumb injury for a few weeks now, but he was a full go in practice this week. He seems fully good to go. The only reason I want to bring it up is we saw in the first game last year in Lambeau Field where Jordan Love had an injury and it affected his ability to move around in the pocket. It was the groin injury. Now he's got the thumb injury. Will it affect his ability to throw the ball down the field? Maybe, I don't know, but it is just something to flag. Because Jordan Love, agent of chaos. Like I always say, he is an agent of chaos. You have no idea what's going to happen at any given snap. He could make the best throw you've ever seen in your life, or he can make the dumbest decision you've ever seen in your life. And there's a lot in between, but there's a very wide range of outcomes when Jordan Love is throwing the football. So if he's hampered in any way, it is going to make a difference, especially even if he just can't throw the ball deep as confidently. That is going to be a massive, X factor in this game because he loves to take shots down the field. So that's another thing to just keep an eye on. And then lastly, I will talk about the Packers run game. Josh Jacobs, super good running back. However, the Lions are re-emphasizing, reprioritizing their commitment to stopping the run. The Lions and Packers defense are very opposite in the way that they operate. The Packers are very much trying to shut down the pass, force you to run the ball, but just take away the big plays, force you to take your time on offense, and then get a lead. And then when you try to take more risks, they generate more turnovers. The Lions are very much, we want to stop the run, force you to pass so that if you make any mistakes when you're forced into third and longs, that's when we're going to get you. So two very different strategies that are predicated on getting you into situations where you have to take risks. But the biggest thing is both these teams love to play with the lead. I realized I kind of jumped around there. Let me finish talking about the run game. So Josh Jacobs, super good running back. I do think, though, that the Lions, with their commitment to stopping the run, might have a lot more success against Josh Jacobs than other teams would. Because, as I mentioned, Tyleik Williams, it's his first career game, but the one thing that we saw in preseason and that he did very well in college was stop the run. You cannot move this man. Tyleik, in the one preseason game he played against the Falcons, he played for 1 quarter, and in that 1 quarter, I watched every single snap of his. As a pass rusher, admittedly, there's maybe not much there at the current moment. But as a run defender, he soaks up double teams. He does not get moved off the ball. And he basically just forces the running back. Like, if you are running at Tyleik Williams, you're not, because he is going to stand his ground and force you to cut somewhere else and go somewhere else. It's going to do wonders for the linebackers, Jack Campbell and Alex Anzalone, because suddenly that's someone in front of them that's just going to soak up extra attention from the offensive line. You also have DJ Reader, who, not to be confused with DJ Reed, that's going to be fun to talk about tomorrow, but you have 2 guys in the interior that just dominate against the run. Aiden Hutchinson, one of the best defenders in the league. He's obviously good against the run. And Davenport is also very good at setting the edge in the run when he's healthy for 2 quarters a season. So I do think the Lions are very well set up to stop the run. I'm very concerned about the pass rush outside of Hutchinson, but I do think that we are going to see the Packers in a lot of second and third and longs in this game because the Lions are so good as a run defense. Okay, now I can get back to what I was talking about a second ago. So both of these teams love to play with the lead, and they are both built to play with the lead. The Lions want to get a lead so that they can run the ball down your throat, rely on play action passes, and, well, control the time of possession and control the ball. Don't give your offense a chance to make plays. And then in the early parts of the game, when you're trying to run the ball, they'll shut down the run, force you to pass it. Maybe you make a mistake, maybe you don't. But if you get into third and long so many times, eventually you're going to not convert. Whereas the Packers, as I just mentioned, they are built on explosive plays on offense. They're going to get a lead. They're going to, maybe you can run the ball, but then in the second half, when you're trailing and you can't run the ball anymore, then you have to take more shots downfield. You have to take more risks. And that's when a guy like Xavier McKinney's going to get you. So Lions and Packers games, for the foreseeable future at least, I'm always going to be looking at as whoever's leading at halftime is probably going to have a good chance to win. Obviously, when you have the lead at halftime, you feel good and you have a higher chance to win. But the odds are going to be a lot more exaggerated in Lions and Packers games, especially whoever's leading after the third quarter. If one of these teams has a 10-point lead after the third quarter, that's probably going to be wraps. Like if the Lions are up 10 or the Packers are up 10, what have you. Because neither of these teams, like both of these teams are built to play with a lead, and neither of these teams are necessarily built to play from behind. The Packers are a little bit more equipped to do that on offense. The Lions are a little bit more equipped to do that on defense because they stop the run. The Packers are a little bit better passing deep down the field. But at the same time, the Lions are a little bit better at playing with the lead offensively. The Packers are better at playing with the lead defensively. So it's a very interesting contrast between these two teams because in so many ways they're opposites, but they also are built to do the same thing. So tomorrow's game is going to be fascinating. I personally can't wait. It is going to be a battle of titans out there, and I would not be shocked if these are the two teams vying for first in the NFC North at the end of the season. So that is going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Drop a score prediction down below, whether you're a Lions fan or a Packers fan or a neutral fan. I would love to know what you guys think about this matchup and what you think is going to transpire on the field tomorrow. And yeah. Click like on the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you loved it, ring that notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. Again, I'm going to be streaming during the game tomorrow. I'll have a post-game video as well tomorrow night, so be on the lookout for that. And so, I'll see you guys then. In the meantime, FTP, go Lions go. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.